All right, guys. Well, we are live back here on Living in San Diego with Bert and Cordy. Unfortunately, you just have myself tonight joining us here on this very rainy Wednesday afternoon here in March. But I do have a very special guest here. Who's a very frequent guest of the show, Mr. Dan Parker. Thanks for joining us, my friend.
Absolutely. Tonight, instead of Bern and Courtney, it's Bern and Dan. What's going on?
Dan show. This is very exciting. Back together again. The original YouTubers of San Diego. And us and Jake Cation, I think. So we should get Jake Cation back on the show one of these days too.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a good dude.
Okay, so I know you did a live last night, Dan, but so I'm not going to try to get into too much of the stuff that you've already spoken about in previous. So, but if I do really reiterate some of the stuff you've already spoken about, I apologize. So,
all good.
And for whoever is tuning in, we always love to know where you guys are watching from, whether you are from our rainy San Diego or to another part of the country or another part of the world. So feel free to chime in and let us know where you guys are watching from. And if you have any questions for me or my lovely co-host, Mr. Dan Parker, please feel free to put it in the chat. Okay, so a lot of things going on here in San Diego. The main thing I want to get to, but we're going to get to a little bit later, is our multiple offers back in San Diego. I know you've actually talked about this recently in one of your videos as well, but it's just been like coming back a little bit faster than a little bit quicker and more offers than I was expecting than there were, over the last previous 6 months, even for the most part.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into that in a few minutes just to discuss that. And let us know if you guys can hear us okay, if there's anything else, sound wise. Dan sometimes has some technical difficulties on his end with his video. So if something goes dark on us, do not be alarmed. He's fine.
Or just freeze. That's oh man, that kills me. Hopefully it's all fixed now, Baron. I got a brand new little thing and we're good to go. We should be good to go.
I'm trusting you on that, Daniel. Trust me. Okay, so let's get into a few things that are going on in San Diego. Then we'll get into the housing market stuff as people start to log on, and we can kind of go from there. So let me get this going here. It's not working.
So excited to see what's first. There's so much going on, Burton.
I know. Well, this is the big news in San Diego. Well, big there. I don't really have an article on this, but the first thing I wanted to talk about is San Diego State going to the Final Four. First time ever they've gotten to the Final Four.
Let's go Aztecs.
That was huge news here in San Diego, and everybody is talking about it. So it's very exciting news going on here. Okay.
No, I just have to say, I mean, I'm not a huge sports fan, but I am an Aztec. And I went to San Diego State when the very first time they got in the Sweet 16. So that wasn't even that long ago. So they had Kawhi Leonard back then. We all know what he's gone on to do. Incredible human being, incredible athlete. And it's very, very exciting to watch them get into the Final Four. Excited for that game on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that this is the first. So even when they had Kawhi Leonard, they only got to the Sweet 16, I believe, was the last time as far as they've ever gotten. So
yep.
Okay, so another big news in San Diego this week is another sports-related activity. Is the San Diego Padres are returning for another season after a very good season last year. They were back again, but I was actually more excited a little bit about what food options are new in San Diego at Petco Park. So as you can see here,
I'm actually very excited about this. This is cool.
They actually have very good food in Petco Park overall.
They really do.
So there's some good options coming to the park this week. Look at that. What is that?
Ooh, elote. Let's go.
That looks amazing. The elote especial will be there. And that's going to be at the Mexican Street corn cart on the main concourse. The hot hen fries also look delicious.
Okay.
So that's going to be at the Draft by Ballast Point section 105. So I actually got season tickets to the Padres this year, so I will be in section 120 if anybody would like to say hello at Petco Park this year.
I'm ready for the invite, Bern. I'll meet you down there.
Anytime. I invited you before, and you did not want to know. The Hawaiian Short Rib Bowl. Also
that looks good.
The newly rebranded Kona Big Wave Patio. This was formerly the Bud Light Patio or the Bud Patio. That's on section 227. This is the Carnitas Nachos.
Ooh.
Is that the Snack Shack? Is that what that is? That is in section 128. So some very good food options here. They get the smoked, I don't even know how you say that, choripan sausage sandwich.
That's right.
That's going to be by the Alpine Beer Company in section 311. And then we have the Baja Fish Taco, which is a staple here in San Diego. That's going to be also served by the Ballast Point location. So some really good food options come into Petco Park this year, and they always have good food options. You know where else they have good food options is Snapdragon Stadium. They also have a lot of
Yeah.
locally owned or restaurants that serve their food there. So.
Bern, I have to commend you because this is the most excited I've ever been at the beginning of one of our lives. I am
Well,
now
I know we never really talk
starving.
about food that often on these things, so I just thought it was a nice little change, and I was very excited about it. We should do a video on the food
Yeah.
options at Petco Park. I think JK
Well,
should actually do a video on that.
let me ask you though. So first of all, I just want to say, if you do not know San Diego very well, if you're looking to relocate here, San Diegans love local things. So I think that's a big part of the reason why we have a lot of local items at Petco Park, at Snapdragon Stadium. I'm sure the new build out at the airport is going to have nothing but local eateries. But Bern,
Sure.
you have gone to a ton of Padre games. What is the best food there prior to this year?
Oh man, that's a good question. I mean, they actually have a decent cheesesteak place there because I'm from
Mm,
Philadelphia originally, so I'm always a little bit partial to the cheesesteak. I think Gaglione Brothers, they have one down there.
yeah.
But they have Puesto down there. I'm a big Puesto
Yes.
fan, and they have those tacos there, which is one of my favorites. They also have what's the place that Courtney always talks about? That's over at UTC Mall.
Oh,
The
the
Din Tai Fung. They have a Din Tai
yes.
Fung there, which is not really baseball food in my opinion, but if you're into Din Tai Fung, that's a good place to check out. So,
All right. Well, you haven't said the correct answer yet, which is obviously Cardiff Crack.
I forgot
Has
about
to be
Carter
Cardiff
Crack.
Crack.
Yes.
You have to experience, everyone watching, you have to experience Cardiff Crack at some point in your life. It is a red wine and garlic marinated tri-tip, and it is absolutely insane.
That is a very good one, and it's actually up in your neck of the woods now that you live
Yep.
up in Carlsbad.
Yep.
Okay, so that's good for the food. We're going to go a complete opposite direction here. And talk about
Jeez, yeah, we are.
sewage blasted San Diego South Bay beaches at
Woo!
record pace in 2022. What will this summer bring? Sounds like a lot of poop. Is what it sounds like. So Imperial Beach, which is we don't talk about Imperial Beach that much on the channel. I'm not sure if you talk about it much, but it's usually not our favorite beach to talk about here in San Diego. I don't know what you think about that, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the big reasons. Like we talk about Oceanside a lot. The reality is there are two like semi-affordable coastal communities. You have Oceanside and then you have Imperial Beach. It's like the northernmost and the southernmost. And the reason why we prefer, one of the biggest reasons why we prefer Oceanside over Imperial Beach is because of this issue. This is a massive issue. And until this gets resolved, like I'm not moving there. You know?
Yeah, and I always forget that Coronado is actually not that far from Imperial Beach.
Yeah.
So if you see right here, Imperial Beach and Coronado suffered the highest number of beach closures in more than a decade last year. So that is something to think about when you're going to visit the Hotel del Coronado, I guess.
So this article is really interesting. I know it was talking about one of the potential reasons why they've seen this uptick is because they're doing a new testing in the water. It's like a special DNA testing. So they actually believe that this new testing is just showing more often
It's
that
basically always been there, but we weren't testing it correctly. Is that possible? Yes.
And if you scroll down, there's actually a chart that shows IB, Silver Strand, and Coronado how many beach closures they've had. Yeah,
Oh,
so
wow.
this one's super interesting.
Well, 2020 they actually had a decent amount, but yeah, it looks like it's almost doubled in the 2022 over here. So
250 days out of the year, they've had signs saying "Do not go in the water."
how many? How many was it?
200. Look at that. 250. That's how many
Oh
days.
my, that's almost that's almost the entire year, which is
Insanity.
kind of crazy. Anybody watching live down in the Imperial Beach area? I'm just curious to see how that affects your day-to-day life because I do not get down there too much as I live in the North County.
So supposedly some repairs are going into effect starting this year. There's a couple $100 million going towards that. The U.S. has agreed to help Tijuana fix this problem. They have a water reclamation plant that is very old, very outdated, and too small to process all of the wastewater they have coming in. So fingers crossed, we're going to start to see some resolution here.
Well, it's in our best interest to help them, I think.
Absolutely.
So that's probably it's more of a selfish probably reason than anything else.
I agree.
So. Okay. We've talked about this in the past on the channel here. $2.7 billion project to transform. It's Terminal One at San Diego
Yeah.
Airport.
Hmm.
I'm actually going down to the airport on Friday to get my global entry pass finally.
Nice.
And
Heck yeah.
actually, I wanted to bring this up. If you're looking to do global entry, they actually just opened up the San Diego airport for global entry. So before you almost had to wait like a year to try to book your
An
appointment to get
application.
global entry, but I was able to book it within a week of the appointment, and they had like 10 appointments open.
That's awesome.
So because I had an appointment like scheduled for like 8 months from now, and then I would just look randomly one day, and it's actually opened up a lot more for people here. So they just have, if you go on the website, there used to be two options for places, like at the border and then one other place. But now they have San Diego Airport as an option. So just take a look if you're trying to get the global entry on there as well.
And just
So
a tip for people, if you are flying out of Terminal 1, what I recommend is get dropped off at Terminal 2 right now, because there is a lot of congestion in Terminal 1. It's not difficult to walk over from Terminal 2 to Terminal 1. It's still one of my favorite airports on the planet, even with the construction going on, but it's going to be awesome once this is done.
well, it's just comparing it to like other places I've lived. Like in Philadelphia, there were 7 terminals. In Los Angeles, I think there's 8. I think
Mhm.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
So, and only having 2 terminals is actually makes it quite easy to navigate. But
Yeah.
although the construction is putting a little bit of a headache for people trying to get in and out of there, I still think they're doing an okay job. I mean, it does take a minute to get it through it
Yeah.
now in the beginning, but once you're through, it's not too bad. It would be nice to have that construction done. Is it supposed to be done by 2025? Is that the idea?
I believe that sounds right. Yeah.
There
So
we
it's
go.
gonna be a while. I mean, what is it? 2 point something billion-dollar project. Like, that's the biggest project in San Diego County right now.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, has there
great.
been a bigger project than 2.7? I mean, like, probably there has been, but that's quite a large
Yeah.
undertaking there.
Mhm.
So they're also coming up with a parking plaza plan to open in late 2024. We'll have 5,200 parking spaces with at least 10% of the spaces earmarked for electric vehicles
Oh,
and
cool.
charging stations. Do you think the cost to park at the airport will go up or go down after this is done, Ben?
I think we both know the answer to that.
Unfortunately, I am pretty positive that it will be going up in the
Yeah.
very near
Yeah.
future.
Not cheap.
Okay, so that's kind of the gist of that one. Okay, now I'm going to get into a little of the housing market stuff here too. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and myself and Dan will be happy to answer them for you. I have a kind of a hard out at like 4:45 because I got to go pick up my kids. So we'll try to get through these as quickly as possible, and you guys can fire away on questions. Okay, this was one of the ones I wanted to start with. So this is from Redfin. And so I always like to see I mean, there's one thing that Redfin does well. It's like give stats out, which I like. So
Mhm.
San Diego housing market is very competitive. Homes in San Diego receive 4 offers on average and sell in around 27 days. This is all of San Diego County, I believe. The median sale price of a home in San Diego was 825K last month, up 3.1% since last year. And this is kind of a funny number because it's up 3.1% since last year, but it did go up like 20 some percent, and now it's gone back down to 3.1%, if that makes sense. So
And then in February, the median single family home value went up by almost $50,000. So it's like,
yes.
it's been all over the place.
I mean, just looking back on like from like October through like early January, it was
Yeah.
like pretty much crickets out there in the housing market. And then rates dipped a little bit and then they went back up again. But what are you seeing right now in the housing market out there, Dan? Because me and you are both out there, every weekend showing houses. So we have a pretty good pulse on what's happening out there.
Yeah, for sure. And it never ceases to amaze me. It's like once you feel like you understand the market, it just decides to change again. But really, what we've seen, like you said, a huge slowdown from May to definitely through December of last year. My experience was the beginning of the year, people really kind of hit the ground running. I think it was in my experience, it was a lot of people that were just kind of sitting and waiting for the last 6 months. Like, is the market going to crash? Are rates going to come down? I'm not really used to these high rates yet. And when the new year started, a lot of people realized, all right, the market isn't crashing. Sure, prices have come down a little bit. Now I can consider this a discount. I need that house. Let's go out and home search. So there was like this mad rush in January and early February. And pretty much every offer that I got accepted during that time period was between 50 and 100,000 over asking. And we were waiving appraisals. So it was
Sure.
highly competitive, really, really fast. What I have noticed since then, and this is anecdotal, so I'm interested to hear what your experience is right now, Bern,
Sure,
is
sure.
there definitely are some properties that are still being very competitive like that. I'm not seeing as much like the 50 to 100,000 over if a property is priced right, but I'm also seeing properties that are really nice properties and they do seem to be priced right. And they are getting foot traffic and they are getting interested buyers going through, and they are getting buyers asking questions to the listing agent so that they could submit an offer. But then that house is sitting on the market for 2 or 3 weeks. And I
Sure.
think my analysis of that is like, ever since the Silicon Valley bank collapse and all the other news that we're like getting hit with on a daily basis, people are just, they're still motivated. They're still going out and checking out properties. They're still, again, some properties that are like perfect for a lot of people are getting competitive that first weekend, but also other properties that should be going fast. The buyers are just like taking a moment to breathe and be like, is this the right investment for us?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm seeing very, very similar things because it's honestly like one of the weirdest markets I've ever been a part of for the
Yeah.
most part. I've been in real estate for like 11 years now, which isn't like a tremendous amount of time, but I've seen some ups and downs and everything in between sort of thing. But it's just like the market just doesn't know where to go. And I feel like buyers are even not sure how this is going. That's why a lot of people aren't getting into the market, although there definitely seem to be a lot more people in the market over the last 2 months, I feel like, compared to the previous like 6 months before that.
Oh yeah.
So, like, I just had a listing in Linda Vista that we priced, I think we priced it kind of exactly where I thought it should go around. And we listed at 645 and it's selling for 655 right now. So about $10,000 over ask, which is not, ridiculous or unheard
Yeah.
of. But we did have 8 offers. And out of the 8 offers, I think there were 5 that came in at ask or below asking.
Mhm.
So if this was 6 months ago or a year ago,
Yeah.
everybody would have been like, even if you came in at asking, you wouldn't even get like a response. You would have to go in 25, 50, $100,000 over asking. So I think buyers are a little bit, they're holding back a little bit more because they always think if they don't get this one, they're just going to move on to the other one.
Mhm.
But there isn't always another one out there if you choose because the inventory is still super low. So that's what we're running into. The inventory being low is the reason why we're getting the multiple offers. If there were more houses on the market, I think this would be a very balanced market.
Yeah.
But now we're seeing that little surge coming back again with the multiple offers. Like every property I put an offer on in the last like 30 days have all had multiple offers. And we
Mhm.
see this from Redfin. It said on average, there's at least 4 offers on every property, which sounds about right for the most part. I put an offer on a condo in Rancho Penasquitas recently, and they still have not responded because they are taking their time. They had came on the market on Thursday. They should have Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, no response. Tuesday, no response. Wednesday, no response. Go, we have 9 offers. We're about to review them 2 days from now. I'm like, what are you going to wait till you have 20 offers? The problem I see with that is like, I think buyers are going to start bowing out on their property because they waited
Yeah.
too long to respond.
Yep.
Like, just, it doesn't make any sense what they're doing unless the seller's having cold feet or something like that. So
Cold
it's just
or
a very market.
some of those are probably low offers and they're like, we want more like sellers are trying to hold out for these insane offers. And even I think in a lot of scenarios where they're getting multiple offers, it's still not what the seller wants to see. It's still not 100,000 or 200,000 over asking. So there are scenarios where that happens for sure.
Yeah. So, and then I put another offer, actually another agent, we were about to put an offer. Actually, no, we were just going to schedule a showing for it. And I text the agent and like, I want to show this property, 12 o'clock today. She's like, oh, we have multiple offers. We're viewing at 5 p.m. today. I'm like, this was last Monday. So then it's still in the market on Thursday. I'm like, hey, I just want to make sure to see if you guys are in escrow. She's like, oh no, we're still doing showings. I'm like, where did all the multiple offers you just had that you were about to accept an offer and it was still
Mhm.
available? So I don't know if what's going on, or sellers aren't just getting the price that they want and they're just like holding back and waiting for more offers to come on. It's just a very weird market.
It is weird. Yep. I agree.
So, but yeah, multiple offers are back, but I wouldn't necessarily be scared off by it because even like I said, when I put that La Linda Vista offer, like a lot of people are coming in under asking or just below asking or at asking. There's not a lot of people going in $100,000 over asking off the bat.
Yep.
So
Yeah. And I
kind
just got an
of
offer
interesting.
accepted this week that was 35,000 under asking.
30,
So that,
35,000 under asking. Where was that
yep.
one?
That was in Bankers Hill.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, and condos are probably not as crazy as the single family homes. Still
Yeah,
seem to be
I
like
agree.
a little bit busier. Is that what you're seeing too?
Absolutely.
versus like condos, because we got a condo in escrow down in downtown, like the Little Italy area, and that one it went slightly over asking, but it was like $5,000, so it wasn't
Mhm.
wasn't super crazy. And it depends on condition. The ones that are in super move-in ready condition gets all the people like jumping all over it. So if you
Exactly.
find ones that are like need a little bit of work or kind of in that in between, like they were remodeled like 10, 15 years ago, and then they're within the next 5 years they might need to be updated again. Those ones I feel like you can still get a pretty good deal on. So
Yeah, absolutely.
okay, and then we got this is just from Bankers 2023 spring housing market predictions. So just a few things I've done on here. The real estate this is kind of for the whole country, not just San Diego. Real estate market remains in correction mode. The National Association of Realtors reports that sales of existing homes rose 14.5% in February. This is just sales. This is not prices go up. So the first increase in 12 months and the biggest since 2020. So I didn't realize this is the first time in 12 months that the existing home sales has increased that much. So I thought that was interesting.
Interesting.
But again, this is throughout the whole country, not just San
Mhm.
Diego. So and it's hard for the sales to go up because there's not enough inventory to sell. So home price growth rate will continue to decelerate and post annual declines this spring. Nevertheless, depending on what happens to mortgage rates, median home prices should see some seasonal rebound. I expect this supply to increase by 5%, while the average days on the market will be reduced by up to 15 days. Do you think the inventory will increase this spring into this early summer?
Yeah, I mean, it's really crazy and weird that the amount of homes for sale is decreasing right now. Like
Yeah.
that, it's a little bit scary looking at that this time of year, because sellers aren't motivated. They're sitting on a 3 or 4, or even less than a 3% mortgage interest rate, and their want to buy a new house and sell their house is like kind of squashed by the thought of getting a 6 or even closer to a 7% mortgage interest rate. But every year, it never fails. Like, we will have more inventory in May and June than we have today. I have zero doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I mean that's usually the most popular, especially at least up in the North County area, which we do
Yep.
a lot of our stuff. The more the people a lot of times sell around like the school districts, at least where I kind of focus a lot of my work around. So usually April, May, June is usually the
Mhm.
biggest amount, or the most amount of inventory comes on the market. And then once August, September hits, it starts to decrease. Although I'm expecting the inventory to be much lower than it has been in the past. And it kind of depends on like how quickly they sell, because I always thought the houses will start to sit longer and then the inventory will just slowly pick up, but
Mhm.
they're still selling relatively quickly if priced correctly. So yes, do I think there probably will be more homes on the market, but is it only going to be 5% more homes, 10% more than there are right now? I've seen a little bit of an uptick in the last 2 weeks of like new properties coming on the
Yeah.
market, but not nearly as much as we normally would see at this time of year.
Well, and I'm curious if you're seeing the same thing. My guess is probably yes, but a lot of my buyers that want to buy this year, they're like a month or two out. So I also think, as we see every single year, yes, inventory should increase, but demand should also increase too. So is it a good thing necessarily for buyers? Like, it's a little bit of a mixed bag.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I would say I have half and half. I probably have like 4 or 5 people that are actively looking right now, and then I have 5 or 6 people they want to look in the summertime, because we help a lot of like out of town buyers. We just kind
Mhm.
of a nature of how we get a lot of our clients from YouTube. So it's sometimes people want to move like after the school year. At least my clients are. They're waiting for their kids to get out of school and then they're moving to San Diego. So but then they have to sell their house then to move here too. So it kind of just depends on the situation. But at least that's what a lot of my clients are working these days. So
Well, Bern, by the way, the sexy way to say that is we are relocation specialists.
experts, Dan, experts.
Right.
Okay, so what else do we have here? And then we'll get into some questions. I got about 20 minutes left here. The US has lost, I thought this was interesting. The US has lost $58 million cities since the housing market peaked
Oh,
last year,
wow. Interesting.
which means like the average home price was over $1 million in 58 cities. Now it's under in 58 cities.
I
And I
love
think
how
San
creative
Diego had
cities are. It's great.
San Diego had like 6 or 7, or no, they said San Diego only has 8 cities remaining that are over $1 million, I think. I'm not sure if they meant cities or towns. I guess it's kind of a little bit different
It
because
must be zip codes or something because
it
there's
must be
no
zip
way that's
codes.
cities.
I had the list here, and I think I X'd out of it. But I thought there would have been more than they said. There's only 8 remaining in San Diego, so I feel like there should be more than 8. Because I
Yeah,
actually was
I
just
mean, if
putting a video together of like the
beach
most.
communities, so
All the
like
beach communities are over $1 million, obviously.
Rancho
Maybe they're
Cucamonga,
counting
sure.
townhomes and condos too, but even then, they're over $1 million. So
Sure. If you do single family and not attached properties, that's definitely gonna help.
yeah,
There's
if I did
ways that
I
you
did
can
single
make
family
it work.
homes, all the beach communities except for Oceanside and like Imperial Beach are
Yep.
over a million, and Oceanside just very big. Most of the ones by the coast are obviously well over a million, but
Mhm.
I think Oceanside is the third biggest city in San Diego County. I think it's San Diego, Chula Vista, and then Oceanside. I think is
Okay.
that correct? So maybe they're counting just the made actual cities. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay.
So, but I thought that was interesting. Okay, what else? Oh, we already did the Redfin thing. Okay, and this is just my my Google Drive. Okay, so we'll get into some questions here about the San Diego housing market. And if you guys haven't, see if you guys have any. Let me exit out of this.
Let's see what you got, people. Bring your
Bring your
question.
questions. Let's see. My life in Okinawa. My frequent watcher here. Thanks for
Yeah.
watching. I've seen rentals, especially North County, going down. What are you seeing? Moving there in July. By the way, finally you're finally moving. That's great. By the way, UConn will win it all with a Connecticut boy. Okay, well we'll see about that. My life in Okinawa. Rentals. I've actually had a lot of questions about rentals recently. And I would say rentals prices, I feel like they're remaining relatively steady. I'm not sure, and I don't do a ton of rentals. Dan, do you do much with rentals?
Well, and one thing I'm curious, originally I read this as rental prices going down, but do you mean the quantity
Oh, maybe you
of
said,
inventory? So I'd be curious if you can let us know exactly what you mean. But I have
yeah.
seen reports that rental prices have been coming down. Again, like Bern, I'm not. We specialize in helping people buy and sell homes. There's not really a system here in San Diego for real estate agents to help
Which is
people.
unfortunate because people do
Is
need help with rentals. It's just there's not really, a way for real estate agents to get paid to do it for the most part, unless the renter wants to pay for it, which they usually don't. So
I mean, honestly, even Orange County, like the next county up, they have it's very common practice for there's a system in place for agents to help.
yeah, and what is that like 45 minutes away
Rental
from
price.
us, and we can't figure that out in San Diego? I don't know why. So
Yeah.
we should start our own rental agency for people here.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was
Okay.
talking about rental prices. I
Um,
don't know if you see the comment that just came in.
oh yeah, it came up here. I'll go back to this one. Okay, rental prices have been coming down. Okay, and where are you looking to rent, and where have you been noticing them coming down? I'm just curious to see because
Yeah.
it's not my biggest focus. So I would like to know though if you have seen it, and I have not. So
Yeah.
okay, another question. Oh, and there are real estate companies that deal on rentals,
Are
not
there?
having a ton of luck with Zillow. Are there?
Yep.
I mean, I wish sometimes you can get like a property management company to do it. I mean, I'm happy to help. We're happy to help like on the back end for those type of things. And just we might not be able to go to all the showings with you for rentals just because, like I said, we don't really get paid for that stuff. But if you know what the area you want to be in, we can kind of help you point in the right direction. And there's some property management websites that sometimes they aren't on Zillow. I
Yeah.
can kind of point you in the right direction for that. Any other tips on that, Dan?
Yeah, search for the top property management companies in San Diego. Sometimes they will post on their website. Zillow is definitely the number one place to go. If you go onto Reddit, there is a moving and then the number 2 San Diego subreddit, and there's a ton of valuable information about renting here in San Diego. But yeah, like Bern said, not only like the financial aspect, a lot of landlords and property management companies, they won't even talk to us. They want to talk to you directly. So we kind of slow things down. But if you ever want an idea of like a good area or something like that, you can hit Bern and I up on the back end and we're
Yeah, because I kind of know where to look for them, but it's not something we can,
Yep.
do regularly, I guess. So, okay. Oh, this Larry's helping you out. My life, you will have to research on your own. I was in the same situation a year ago before moving from Seattle to San Diego. But yeah, happy to answer questions about it. But again, we might not be the be all end all resource for you on that one. Okay. Thanks, Larry. This is tough maneuvering and all since I'm in Japan. Here's
Get a little side combo going on here.
yeah.
Love it.
Feel free to connect with the other viewers out here. It's always good to see. Okay, well, you guys can chat. I love it. Find time there. Cool. maybe it's worth buying. I'll be there for 3 years, then back to Okinawa. Why only 3 years? I guess is it work related or
Military.
military related? Yeah.
Mhm.
We are definitely seeing good movement in our area in San Luis Obispo, Central Coast, California. Okay, very cool. You're seeing multiple offers as well? I'm guessing that's what you're seeing as well.
It's interesting knowing what's going on in other areas. So we'd love to
For
know more.
sure. Yeah. Um, okay, especially military communities needs rental help. I know. I
Mhm.
feel like the military should supply something like that because there's so much military that move here. They don't have someone that like helps them get settled in here. I feel like they should if they don't.
They have there's like temporary housing, but then it can be
Right.
there's some long wait lists to get in. Like it doesn't it's still challenging. It's still very
Yeah.
challenging for sure.
Doesn't make it easy. So,
Mhm.
but feel free to reach out. We'll do the best we can to help you out. So. Pally seems to be coming down 92130, etc. I think some of the rental, like there's an example of a house in my neighborhood that rented for $5,500 like 2 years ago, just went back on the rental market again. They're asking $6,900, which I thought was insanity.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe they'll be able to get that price. I don't think they're going to get it that high, but we will see what happens with that. I think a lot of people were shooting for the moon on rental prices over the last year, and maybe they're coming back to down to earth, just like the home prices have. But it'd be nice so people can afford more things here
So
because
my assumption on the rental market it is different than the home sale market. The home sale market, like you're putting a property on the market and people are bidding and they could bid each other up. And that
yep,
generally doesn't happen with rentals. I think a lot of times, and this is, again, this is like I don't have evidence to back this up, but I believe that a lot of times the people that are renting these properties, it's their perception of what people are going to pay. That's what they list it
sure,
at.
yeah,
So the perception of a recession coming, the perception of the banks are collapsing and the real estate market could be crashing, and I think that that could affect the rental prices. I think even more so than the real estate market because the real estate market is really more significantly based off of just supply and demand.
for sure. And I think rental, at least from my experience, people sometimes will list rentals higher because it doesn't really hurt you if you put a rental higher. You can always reduce the price, and it does not really hurt the value of your rental. But for if you're doing a home purchase and you list it too high, then you're just chasing it down, and people think something's wrong with it. With rentals, you don't really have that mindset. At least I don't think people do. So
Well, I think sometimes people will have the mindset of I think this happens a lot. People have the mindset of they'd rather get a lower price to get a really good quality tenant in.
sure,
So if it's managed by the person who owns the property, then you'll see that a lot as well. So like maybe they'll list it $500 less than what they think they can get so that they can get in some really good quality people and then they can pick someone that they think is going to take good care of the property.
which is even like the same for someone like your lease is up for renewal, but you've been an awesome tenant. You never complain. You never call them. Then they don't raise the rent on you. Sometimes I'd rather keep you as a renter and not have to deal with a potentially new renter that's going to like complain or just
Exactly.
whatever it is. Because
Mhm.
I've known a lot of landlords have done that. It's like I was going to raise the rent, or I raised it like $100 instead of like $300 because you've been such an awesome tenant. So just remember that if you're a very good tenant, you might have a very good landlord that's kind of reasonable too.
For
Not
sure.
all of them are that way, but in my when I was a renter, the less you would complain, I feel like the nicer they were to you. Just
Yeah.
my 2 cents.
As long as it's not a property management company, they have less kind of
Yeah, if it's like a locally owned,
emotion
like
for
just like a husband wife team or whatever owns it, like a mom and pop type thing, they're more usually flexible on not raising the rent. If it's a property management company or like one of these big apartment buildings, you're probably out of luck. But we'll see. That's my 2 cents on rentals here. Okay, where did I leave off?
Burn. There was a sighting.
There was a what?
A sighting.
Let's see. I think I saw her last week. That was definitely me. I was outside of Oswego Street. I don't even know if I pronounced that right. I always mess up that word. So if it is
Sounds
Oswego,
right. I
there
think
was
that
one for sale. That's the one that had 6 offers on it, and that was listed at 499. I think we offered. I forget now. 50, 505, 510. And I think it went for like 520 something. Um, and it needed a lot of work. So I was surprised it was getting that high. But like I said, if the market's definitely gone a little bananas over the last couple weeks here. So even if you go off the comps, they seem to be going like that. The comp for that one should have been like 505, 510, and I think it went for 525 or something like that. But the condition it was in, it needed to be completely redone. So people are just, feels like it's coming back to what it was, which I don't want it to come back to where it was, because it still gives me nightmares to this day. So.
Yeah, and I guess I can add in. So we have a small team now, and our agents have been actively writing offers for some clients. And two of my agents in particular had to write multiple upon multiple upon multiple offers before they got one accepted, because they had some buyers that were a contingent on selling their property. So yeah, if there are it still is a challenging market, like Bern said, and it can take a little while to find the right property. But hopefully we find the perfect property for you. Bern and his team find the perfect property for you. Also want to mention, Ebonk, next time you have to go up to Bern and say, Bern, can we take a selfie together? Because I would love to see that.
You should do that to Courtney, because she gets mad that I'm the only one that gets recognized, because I'm just like a bigger target, I think, so people can see me coming from a mile away.
I love it.
This was another, I wanted to bring up this one thing, because Mike on my team actually put an offer on a house this past weekend. And in Encinitas, you're in your neck of the woods, Dan, 434 Jolena Way. Have you heard this? Have you seen this one? List price was 1,285. Seller wanted to rent back until August. That's nice. They offered over that. They had 14 offers, and seller countered the top 6, so they did not get it. It was priced on the lower end, but that's why they had 14 offers. But I did feel like you could have listed it at like 1.3 and still gotten multiple offers. 14 offers is just like, that's what I'm worried. Are these multiple offers things back again? I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, next time, Ebonk, say hi. I'll buy you a donut or something. What if a landlord doesn't tell you whether they'll renew your lease or change your rent price, and the lease is ending in less than 1 month? So technically, I'm not an expert on renters, by the way, but if it automatically goes month to month, usually, if they don't send you technically a renewal notice for your rent. But then they theoretically could cancel the lease at any time when it's month to month, and you could also cancel the lease at any time if it's month to month.
Bern McGovern, Esquire.
I am not a lawyer, and I am not saying, and it also depends on the lease terms, whatever the lease says, but that's typically how a normal lease would go.
Now, to my knowledge, that's 100% correct. As soon as your lease term ends, if there's no discussion upon termination, then it automatically goes month to month, which would mean it's the same price, and they have to give you a 30-day notice for canceling or to increase the price or anything like that.
But if you want to stay longer and you we're not worried about having to move like in the middle of the holidays or the summer or whatever it is, might be good to have that conversation to see if they will extend another year, just so you don't have to move 2 months from now or whatever it is. So
yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, check what the lease says too, for one thing. I guess that would be a good start. Bern, that's why I should have come up and say, I hope you do, my friend. I hope you do.
Yeah.
If I buy a home in San Diego, does that mean I have to be a California resident, or can I keep my Florida residency? I think it just depends on where you live more than 50% of the time. So if you live in San Diego for 51% of the time, you're technically a California resident. If you live in Florida for 51% of the time, I think technically you are a Florida resident. But check with are you worried about taxes? I'm guessing it's about taxes, but check with your CPA on that question.
Yeah, and then the financing for primary residence for second home you're going to get a much better rate for a primary residence. And if
actually second home, a lot of times, if it's a jumbo, you can actually get almost a very similar rate you can get to your primary residence. If you do it as an investment property, that's when it changes usually.
Okay, so then that's where the disconnect was, because I know that it definitely used to be able to buy a second property or Airbnb. You could kind of qualify under the same thing. Now, if you're going to do a short-term rental, then that rate goes up dramatically.
Yes, because that's an investment property technically. Yeah. But if you don't have a second home, down the road, you decide to make it an Airbnb, talk to your CPA. That's what I say.
Yeah. And then also just know, if you're utilizing a VA loan, it's going to have to be for primary residence. So that could add in some challenges too.
Yeah, you can't do second home with VAs or FHAs.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Star Platinum coming in at the last moment.
I thought we were going to see you. The only other person I haven't seen is the Spaniard yet. So You have to live in Florida 6 months and 1 day, and you will be a Florida resident. There you go. So
Okay.
they
Cool.
do track. I know from what I've heard, they do track that like very closely. They'll look at where you spend money and all that other stuff. So trying to like fool people on like where you're living for 6 months out of the year is almost impossible. So just keep that in mind.
Byrne McGovern Esquire does not recommend this
I
practice.
don't recommend, don't try it. So just my 2 cents. It'll save you a lot of headaches. So okay, well that is it. This is actually perfect timing. I can wait to 4:42, and I had to leave by 4:45. So Daniel, thank you for joining us on the show here. Hold on, we got one more thing. Start Platinum. Can you sell a rental home and put it on another family member's name? Do you have to pay taxes? These are all CPA questions.
Yeah.
I mean, could I answer it? What I think, sure, but I don't want to tell you wrong information. So, can you sell a rental home and put it in another family member's name? Do you have to pay taxes? My guess would be yes, but talk to a CPA about that. So,
Yeah.
it sounds like a tax shelter, but I don't think it'll work. They are all ruthless. Are you talking about Jason Birds? Are you talking about landlords? I'm guessing so. But it was good to see you, Jason. I haven't heard from you in a bit. I guess that is it for this week's episode. I'm going to be out of town for a little bit for vacation, but I will return when we get back. And maybe I'll join Dan on his channel in the coming weeks.
Let's do
Dan,
it.
thanks for joining. If you guys ever have any questions about the San Diego real estate market, feel free to reach out to me or Dan. We'd be happy to help you guys out. Thanks for watching. Catch us next time. Bye.
Thanks,